Good evening. The old man here, November 12th, 2024. You might wonder what got me doing YouTube videos. Well, I'll tell you the truth, I've been thinking about it for the last year or so. But I didn't really know what I would do, what I would talk about. Well, there's a guy on YouTube. The name of his channel is The Economic Ninja. He talks a lot about economics, of course, and but his emphasis is on the real estate bust and boom. Him, along with a lot of others, can see an economic bust coming, and that the properties are way overvalued. And if you set yourself up in the right places over the next, well, the last few years and the next few years, you're going to be able to pick up real estate at one hell of a discount. Now, that's not me. I'm not into real estate, and that's cool. I want them guys to go out there and crush it and just make tons of money. Rather than the more guys, the individuals that get out there and make lots of money on this bust, economic bust, the less there's going to be out there for the BlackRocks of the world. Trust me, them guys they're staged to really make a big dent in this market. So one of his challenges was for it's called 50 plus, and he just asked his viewers that were 50 plus. He gave them a challenge to get out there and start doing YouTube videos and talking about their life experiences, the things they're doing. It's so much that the older generation doesn't tend to pass down anymore, pass down their knowledge. In most cases, younger generations don't want to hear it. At least that's the way I've always felt. You know, you try to talk to them and it just not getting through. I found that, I'm 60 and, well, actually 61 going on 62. And honestly, the 20-somethings, just like me when I was 21, 22, the older generations didn't know shit and I knew everything, you know. Well, I found out in short order who was right and who was wrong, but still, I wasn't listening to the older generations for the most part. Okay. Well, they still aren't. 20-somethings still aren't listening. They think they know it all. And I guess they got to find it out the hard way. It's just the way it is. What I've found is the 40-somethings or the late 30s and the 40-somethings are the ones that are interested. I guess they also see it coming. They've experienced enough life that they realized by that time that, maybe their parents did know something that they didn't know. And now they're ready to absorb that information and willing to listen. And I'd like to pass down some of the things I knew, or pass down some of the things I know. I find myself every day at work. For those of you that don't know me, I own a gun shop in Auburn, Michigan. Not Auburn Hills, but Auburn. It's between Bay City and Midland. I'm not here to plug my shop. We do pretty well. We stay really busy. But the one thing I do find interesting is how many people a day come to me and ask me for advice on things from firearms and honestly prepping, and because a lot of the people know I'm into prepping, and gold and silver. There's a few that know I'm into that and they like to talk about that. But I guess if I'm an expert in anything, I don't really consider myself an expert, but I guess I've been in the field long enough. I know more than the average person does at any rate. But that's in firearm safety, and firearms repairs. Um, in some way, shape, or form, I've been around the firearm business since my earliest memories is about I was about 10 years old. My uncle owned a gun shop in Bridgeport, or Spalding Township in Michigan, and my grandparents had a farm just a mile down the road. So anytime I got my chores done around the farm, in the summertime especially, I'd run down and visit my uncle, and he put up with my dumb ass for quite a bit of time. Eventually, he realized that I was just going to hang out and be a pain in the butt. So he put me to work, probably figured he'd shut me up for a while, quit asking dumb questions. Uh, Basically, he gave me a firearm. I don't even remember what it was, the first one. And he said, here, take this apart and clean it. Put it back together when you're done. I thought, well, that's cool. So I took it all apart, and I really didn't pay attention to what I was doing, but I did figure out how to take it apart. That was a no-brainer. I was always mechanically inclined. And I took it apart. I cleaned the parts. And I sat there and scratched my head. And finally I went to him and said, hey, give me a hand. I really don't know how to put this thing back together. He says, figure it out. I said, well, I don't know if I can do it. He said, you can do it. Figure it out. And I swear to God, again, I don't remember what gun it was, and I'm sure it was pretty simple. I sat down, and to tell you what, it took me 2 to 3 hours to put this gun. My best recollection is actually it took me about 3 hours to put that gun back together. But at the end of the day, I did it myself, and it worked. The one thing I'll tell you for sure, you spend 3 hours scratching your head trying to figure out how something goes back together, you won't forget how to put that one back together again. And then when I got that one back together and I was all smiles and giggly and stuff, he says, well, here's another one. Go do this one too. And I thought, wow, now this time I'm going to be smart and I'm going to pay attention. And I took it apart, I cleaned it, and it took me about three hours to remember how to put it back together again. And again, I'm sure it was simple. But that was a life lesson that I guess my uncle taught me, that you just can't go to somebody else all the time and get all the answers. You got to figure them out. And boys, that stayed with me all my life. You just got to figure things out. You got to put your head to it and figure it out. Don't take the lazy way out and ask somebody else. Figure it out. Well, today we're lucky. We got cell phones that are really handy. And I'll tell you today, I'll even use a cell phone. I'll take something apart I haven't taken apart in a long time, and I'll take pictures of it as I'm taking it apart. That's a heck of a good cheat. I put it back together. I can always go back and look at the pictures and go, oh yeah, that's the way that went, you know. Back in the day, at the best, we would have is pictures in a manual, and schematics help a lot too. But there's manuals out there that showed you how to take things apart and how to put them back together. And boy, it helped a lot. And it built a lot of character as a kid, you know. And coming up through my life, and especially when I owned my own gun shop, started when I was 45 years old. I finally said to hell with it. I'm tired of working for somebody else. And honestly, the last 10 years before that, from 35 to 45, I worked full time for my uncle. I'd done a lot of other things. I'd been a welder for a few years. I enjoyed that, but there was no money in the business. And I found out that it was very cyclic. You know, there's a lot of work, then there's no work. A lot of work, then there's no work. And that just doesn't work for me. I needed something more stable than that. I'd worked from my father-in-law for 10 years, and that was in a pawn shop. And boy, did I learn a lot about people in the pawn shop. Working with people, trying not to make them, because a lot of people come to you and they need money. They're not either on hard times. And, work with them and not make them feel bad, about having to borrow money. And, just work with them and make the best of it. You know, you're gonna make a few bucks on everything. Actually, you're helping them and they're helping you. You know, it all works out if you're good to people. That's the thing. And it was interesting. It was a really interesting 10 years. There was lots of challenges, but for the most part, it was pretty good. I liked it. But after that, you know, I owned it for a couple years, and then it was honestly just time to get out. The area in Saginaw that we had the pawn shop, it was declining so fast that there was really nothing you could do to help the people, and the people, you know, they didn't have anything that they could even borrow against anymore. That's how much that part of town had gone downhill. So kind of got out of that, and like I said, I was a welder. Then I worked at a pawn shop. Went to work with my buddy. He'd been working at a place for quite a while called Alloy Construction. I went there, wound up actually getting my CDL for truck driving. I cut steel for them and cut steel for them. Did a little bit of fabricating and did quite a bit of truck driving for them too. Hauling things, parts of buildings that we fabricated, then hauled them to the painter, and from the painter hauled a lot of them right out to job sites. Got to work on some job sites when the shop was slow, but yet we were still still erecting the buildings. I went to go out work with those guys, and those guys were a lot of fun too. They really tried to enjoy life, and they were fun to work with. Back on track though, I guess I've spent, well, from best I can recollect, from 10 years old to now 62. I've always been, at least had my toes in the business. I really enjoyed gunsmithing, both on the side and professionally. I've also sold guns even when I had other jobs. I picked up guns at gun shows or wherever I could. Had fun with them, you know, shot them, figured them out, you know, worked on them, repaired them, whatever. And I also sold them. You know, it was just again another good learning experience and part of the business. Um, One thing that I've realized as of late that firearms is it's another commodity. You know, some guys, their commodity that they sell is stocks as a stockbroker, or you know, I know guys in the gold and silver business. Their commodity that they sell obviously is gold and silver. My commodity that I like to sell, I know very well. I know what to look for as far as collectability and condition, and to look up prices on the internet, see what the market's doing at the moment. A lot of it is subjective. You just can't look at a screen and go, "Oh, that gun's worth $10," or well, that's a stupid price. Sorry, that gun's worth $200 or $2,000. It's not that simple. You got to be able to, you know, figure out what the market really is, and go from there. Actually, it'll make you or break you. Either you need to know how to price your guns right, both on the buying end and on the selling end. If you ask me, that's an art. It's something that very few people can do. You know, a gun buyer is more or less like the manager at a used car lot. You know, he's the used car lot manager. He's doing the buying. He's going to make you or break you. That's it, plain and simple. He either knows what he's doing or he don't. If you don't know what he's doing, you're going to the poorhouse fast. Same thing with buying and selling guns. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know the ins and outs of these firearms. You also got to know how to treat people and how to work with people. Make people feel good about it at the end of the day, whether they're selling guns or buying guns. They got to feel good about the transaction at the end of the day. You know, people that know me know that I get frustrated. But honestly, I think that's a lot of times the only reason I get frustrated is my mind's going in a million different directions at once. It's hard to concentrate on one particular thing and not make mistakes. So, and there's nothing drives me nuts more than making mistakes, especially if I'm the one making the mistakes. So it does become a little frustrating at times. Um, I got one more thing. This video is already getting to be 15 minutes long, 15, 30, and I don't like to make them too long. But one other thing, I have a lot of people over the years come to me and say, hey, what do you think about going to Gunsmith in college? And hey, if that works for you, go ahead. And they say, well, where'd you go? And I said, well, I went to the School of Hard Knocks. Basically, I've never had any official training. I've had on-the-job training, and it's probably the best on-the-job training. There's no school where you're going to spend enough time with the many different firearms that I've worked on over the years. The school's maybe 2 years long at the most. You're either mechanically inclined or you're not. You either understand what's going on or you don't. You need to know different things to look for, either broken, worn parts, or, basically you need to understand how these firearms work. They're basically all the same. There's not a whole ton of difference internally. They've all got the same idea. Now, there's different ways of getting there, but the basic concept is the same. Once you understand that, and you've had your nose in enough guns, anybody interested in the gun business, I'll tell you, on the ground floor, it don't pay very well. You got to spend years and years and years of dedication. In fact, you may, like myself, have to go and do other things to make a living, and just keep your nose in it, keep your toes dipped in the water, and just keep working at it. I did gun shows for years while I was doing other jobs, just to stay in touch with what was going on, and buying and selling that firearm commodity. I just enjoyed the hell out of it. I enjoyed the people, I enjoyed the firearms, learning more and more about them all the time. And that's basically just sucked up all that knowledge and keep it in your head. Again, I think rather than going to a college, if you want to learn how to get started in the gunsmithing business, the best thing to do is just start taking firearms apart and cleaning them. I tell you, you clean a couple hundred guns, even if a lot of them are the same, you really start to learn how firearms operate, and what things to look for, and what makes things work and not work. And um, it's the best way. It's the only way. There's no cheat in this business. There's no quick way of making a buck. You may make a couple dollars up front here and there and get lucky, but actually at the end of the day, it's all about knowledge, and knowledge comes through time. Most people today aren't willing to put that time in. They don't have enough focus. Their mind is going in too many different directions at once, and they can't focus on any one thing. If they're not a millionaire by the end of the week or the end of the month or the end of the year, they're moving on and looking at something else. The truth of the matter is they can go to 10,000 different things, and at the end of the day, because they haven't concentrated, aren't willing to concentrate or learn any one subject to know it well enough to excel at it, they're not they're not going to make a heck of a lot of headway. Well, that's it for tonight. I just want to let you know how I got started in YouTube, and kind of give you a better introduction of what I do for a living, and how it's worked for me. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Bye.